And long years teaching our kids not to care, and that there's no such thing as society anyway. And all the rich folks act surprised when all sense of community dies, but you just close your eyes to the other side of all the things that she did. Thatcher fucked the kids. You got a generation raised on the welfare state, enjoyed all its benefits and did just great, but as soon as they were settled as the richest of the rich, they kicked away the lad and told the rest of us that life's a bitch. And it's no surprise that all the fuck-ups didn't show up until the kids had grown up. But when no one ever smiles or ever helps a stranger, is it any fucking wonder our society's in danger of collapse? So all the kids are bastards, but don't blame them, yeah, they learn by example. Blame the folks who sold the future for the highest bid. That's right, Thatcher fucked the kids. Fresh.
One of the things that I'm sure most people would agree with that's been left out of the conversation thus far is how important it is to be involved in your actual community and to vote for your local elections. Because if you're not doing that, then you're basically every 4 years barely participating at all. It's a sporting event if you're doing it every 4 years. It's a new Super Bowl. It's a team to root for and then your opposing team to root against. Whereas if you're voting in your local elections, you're actually very directly partaking in what's going to affect you and your neighbors. And not only that, but you're part of your community in another way. Ideally, that's, I think, where we're heading as a world, where we're thinking globally and acting locally. We're considering ways to be sustainable and trying to support our local grocer as opposed to going to the Walmart or the Cisco or the, whatever. Politically, we need to do the same thing, and a lot of us do. Definitely the local outlook politically is where you can make the largest strides in change, I believe.
So then maybe instead of if you have enough knowledge to vote, maybe you have to vote enough locally then to actually vote for a presidency.
Whoa, what about that?
That's actually a really good way to keep records, but then it's no longer an anonymous vote now, is it?
Great point, though, Brian. I mean, really, that's like revolutionary. I had not ever thought of that.
That statement actually just makes all of us who actually participate in society. I mean, I think that's the gist of where we are, right? So, Joshua, I want to hear your opinion on it.
How many? And does that not start until you're 18? And then so maybe you have to spend several years voting in minor elections before you're allowed to vote in a presidential. So by the time you're, 21 or 22, you can vote in the presidential election. It's an interesting concept, honestly, to pay closer attention to what's happening in your own backyard where, I think we all should spend a bit more time being informed of what our local elected officials are doing, because it's often something that we can actually get out and visit and be a part of. So, I mean, it has merit. I would like to see how it works on paper.
Yeah, I think the semantics would have to be figured out like anything. The idea, I think, is really revolutionary. I've never even heard of that. I know about runoff voting.
I think that, it would definitely, regardless of, how it might be played out with semantics and on paper, because that, I think, would be the struggle of trying to put into play something as different as that. But I think it would really make the presidential candidates then be more involved in the local votes and then, basing their campaign on those local issues are. And also kind of in a trickle down, if you will, theory, would also incorporate young voters to become more aware of what their local issues are. And the president would have to really be knowledgeable of that himself. He would have to take recognition and acknowledge down to the local points of view.
Yeah, it would be in the president's best interest to be involved in the interest of his actual constituents. Things that are wedge issues that are basically strategies by our primary parties here in the United States, would no longer work, because you couldn't bring up gay marriage and abortion. And again, just to reiterate my thoughts on that, so you don't, if it's the first time you're hearing me say these words, it's not that those issues don't matter, it's just that they're not the issues. They're not the things that are actually affecting us daily. There's a lot more things that involve our basic needs that our candidates should be talking about rather than these other issues. No one can get us all wrapped up in semantics if we're being reared in an environment that is, a 16-year-old kid is probably going to be itching to vote by the time he's 18 if his family's been brought up in that same environment, and then thinks, well, you know what, I don't care about this now, but I'm just going to go vote so that by the time, actually, this is a whole other, it could have adverse effects in that way.
My thought about it is, like, we had student council in high school, so you had the right to vote then. You had student committees available throughout university, students' union members and representatives. Those were opportunities for underage political activism, and that would affect your community as is. So I think that, I guess, in a way, we already do have that ingrained into us, that voting creates, an end result, regardless of whether it's what you voted for or not. But that would have given us the basic sense of democracy, that you vote for so-and-so and for their ideas. And so I guess in a way we do kind of have that system already in place. It's just like, it's not a prerequisite, but it is an introduction.
Well, that's what the educational system going to school is supposed to teach you. You should be informed by the time you graduate from high school. Of course, we know that the educational system has kind of gone to shit. One fear that I would have in something like that is that it adds another layer of complexity upon a system that is already kind of too complex as it is. The tracking and the voting and how you go about monitoring it, and would bring up all kinds of questions about fraud, and well, so-and-so didn't vote in their final election prior to, so they didn't have the shouldn't have had the ability to vote in the presidential, and I can just see like issues arising out of it, because anytime you add another layer of complexity into a system that is already kind of broken, I don't know, I don't have the answers. It's a novel idea. It's one that I have not contemplated before, but like I said, I'd have to see how it would actually implement it.
How does money influence voting? Are there ways that you think money has influenced voting, whether it was positively or negatively?
Money plays a key role in voting now. Campaigning, for one, which influences vote in huge numbers. How much money you can throw into a campaign, the more numbers, the better. But I think the epitome of all that, for me anyway, and again, here's my frustration. Can you hear it in my voice? It was the Gore-Bush election, where it was able to be bought. I've read many things that say yay or nay, or that didn't happen, or that did happen, but the fact is money sways votes, and whether you want to put it into campaigning or just the complete landslide of a vote or corrupting a vote, definitely plays a role.
Washington. The Marine Band plays Hail to the Chief for George W. Bush, 43rd President of the United States. But in Florida, some are singing Hail to the Thief. And we want to know if George W. Bush won the election, or did Brother Jeb steal it for him? Our investigation suggests that the answer lies at the Capitol, and in a very expensive contract between Governor Jebb's Division of Elections and a private company named DBT, which accidentally wiped off the voter rolls thousands of Democratic voters. 18th floor, Division of Elections. We've come to ask Mr. Clayton Roberts, the director, a few questions. Roberts agreed to talk, but became a bit uncomfortable when he learned that we had obtained the secret DBT contract, and asked him if he knew what DBT were up to.
No, I didn't ask DBT to do. They do what we contract them to do. We have a statute that says we have to have a private company to do this. We put it out for bid. They got the bid, and I think I'm done with this interview.
Wait, well, let me just show you the contract, if I could, Mr. Roberts. Wait, it says here, right in the contract, that the verification is supposed to be done by DBT. That you paid them $4 million. Don't you? It could look to other people. Don't you think that you paid $4 million to purchase this election for the Republican Party? 95% wrong on the felon list?
Mr. Roberts, could you just please answer the question regarding the contract?